Now let's turn to the book of Isaiah for another important messianic prophecy. It's found in chapter 53 of the book of Isaiah, which describes the Messiah's ministry in great detail. Who had believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He grew up before him like a tender shoot and like a root out of the dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and familiar with suffering. Like one from whom men hide their faces, he was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he took up our infirmities and carried our sorrows, yet we considered him stricken by God, smitten by him, and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him, and by his wounds we are healed. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us has turned to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before his shearer is silent, so he did not open his mouth. By oppression and judgment he was taken away, and who can speak of his descendants? For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people he was stricken. He was assigned a grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, though he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it was the Lord's will to crush him and cause him to suffer, and though the Lord makes his life a guilt offering, he will see his offspring and prolong his days, and the will of the Lord will prosper in his hand. After the suffering of his soul, he will see the light of life and be satisfied, and by his knowledge my righteous servant will justify many, and he will bear their iniquities. Therefore, I will give him a portion among the great, and he will divide the spoils with the strong, because he poured out his life unto death and was numbered with the transgressors. For he bore the sins of many and made intercession for the transgressors. The prophet Isaiah wrote this prophecy at least 600 years before Jesus was born. Notice how he describes Jesus' life and ministry so fully that this chapter could serve as a prelude to the New Testament. Jesus came into the world as a baby and grew up working alongside his father as a carpenter. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him. He was despised and rejected by Jewish leaders, and he experienced a great deal of suffering. He carried mankind's sorrows, and he was pierced for the transgressions of people everywhere. He approached his death in the way Isaiah described, as a sheep before his shearers is silent. Jesus did not defend himself at his trial, and so he was taken away by oppression and judgment. He was crucified between two lowly criminals, and thus being assigned a grave with the wicked. After his death, his body was placed in a rich man's tomb. Because Jesus had lived a sinless and perfect life, God, his heavenly Father, accepted him as the guilt offering that was needed to remove the sins of the people. Then, after his passion and death on the cross, Jesus was resurrected and saw the light of life. Through his death and resurrection, Jesus bore the sins of all who would believe in him and made intercession for the transgressors. It's interesting to note that some Jewish groups have removed Isaiah 53 from their scriptures, presumably because it parallels the New Testament accounts of Jesus' life so closely. Nonetheless, this messianic passage was in the Jewish scriptures long before Jesus was born, and this fact is confirmed by both the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Septuagint. When we looked at Old Testament prophecies, we saw Daniel's prediction of 4 successive world empires. He indicated that during the period of the 4th world empire, which we identified as the Roman Empire, God would bring in his kingdom, a kingdom that will never be destroyed. This prophecy would beg the question, how will God bring his kingdom to earth? Daniel explained that he would send the Messiah, and even gave a specific date regarding his coming. The prophet announces this time frame in Daniel 9:25. Know and understand this, from the issuing of the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the Anointed One, the ruler, comes, there will be 7 sevens and 62 sevens. Now, let's look at the meaning of this passage. As we have already pointed out, the Anointed One, the ruler, is a phrase translated from the Hebrew, and it means the Messiah, the Prince. 7 sevens plus 62 sevens equals 69 sevens. In the Jewish culture, sevens could mean periods of 7 days, 7 months, or even 7 years. Assuming that sevens means 7 years, when we multiply 69 times 7 years, we get a total of 483 biblical years. A biblical year is always 360 days. Let's continue our mathematical calculations by multiplying 483 biblical years times 360 days. The result is 173,880 days. What meaning does this number have? Daniel was told that the prophecy would begin when the command to rebuild Jerusalem was given. This command came forth and was recorded in Nehemiah 2:1-8. The command to rebuild Jerusalem was in the first month of Nisan, in the 20th year of King Artaxerxes' reign over the Persian Empire. The actual date is equivalent to March 5th, 444 BC. When we count 173,880 days from March 5th, 444 BC, we arrive at the date of March 30th, 33 AD. Why is this date so significant? It's because on this particular day, the Jews who understood Daniel's prophecy about the coming Messiah were awaiting his arrival in Jerusalem with palm branches in their hands. They didn't know which individual it would be, but they did understand that the Messiah would come on that day, riding on a donkey through the streets of Jerusalem, according to the prophet Zechariah. Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, daughter of Jerusalem. See, your king comes to you, righteous and having salvation, gentle and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. Now, the big question is, can we know where Jesus was at that time? In order to answer this question, we must examine the important dates that surround the life and ministry of Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus started his ministry the day he was baptized in the 15th year of Caesar Tiberius, according to Luke 3:1. Tiberius started his reign on August 19th, 14 AD. So Jesus' ministry would have started on or after August 19th, 29 AD. We also know that Jesus' ministry was 3.5 years long. If we add 3.5 years to August 19th, 29 AD, it will bring Jesus' ministry ending sometime in 33 AD. Another way of arriving at this year is to consider the following. The Jews celebrate Passover in the spring of each year. Jesus' ministry spans 3 Passovers, according to John 2:13, John 6:4, and John 11:55. On the 4th Passover, that was the day Jesus died. If we add 4 years to 29 AD, it brings us again to Jesus' ministry ending sometime in the year 33 AD. According to Jewish law, the Passover has to be on the 14th day of Nisan. In 33 AD, 14 Nisan is equal to April 3rd, a Friday. In John 12:1 we read, 6 days before the Passover, Jesus arrived at Bethany. In 33 AD, 6 days before the Passover is March 29th. Then in the same chapter we read, the next day, Jesus rides into Jerusalem on a donkey, John 12:12. The next day would be March 30th, 33 AD, the exact day that the prophet Daniel said Messiah would come into Jerusalem. No other person in recorded history has been documented riding on a donkey in the streets of Jerusalem that day, claiming to be the Messiah. Jesus of Nazareth was the only one. As Jesus entered the holy city, the crowd cried out, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord." This was the first time that Jesus publicly acknowledged that he was the Messiah, the long-awaited King of the Jews. This is the day that Christians the world over celebrate as Palm Sunday. King David wrote many of the Psalms about 600 years before crucifixion was ever employed as a means of capital punishment, and 1,000 years before Jesus was born. In spite of this, the psalmist could have appeared to have written this psalm at the foot of the cross. my God, why have you forsaken me? All who see me mock me. They hurl insults, shaking their heads. He trusts in the Lord. Let the Lord rescue him. Let him deliver him, since he delights in him. Do not be far from me, for trouble is near, and there is no one to help. Many bulls surround me. Strong bulls of Bashan encircle me. Roaring lions, tearing their prey, open their mouths wide against me. I am poured out like water, and all of my bones are out of joint. My heart has turned to wax. It has melted away within me. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth. You lay me in the dust of death. Dogs have surrounded me. A band of evil men has encircled me. They have pierced my hands and my feet. I can count all my bones. People stare and gloat over me. They divide my garments among them and cast lots for my clothing.